Hey, this is DJ, and I wanted to make a video talking about the monsters of OD&D. This is a photo of my copy. I have an original white box set. There's a chainmail over there, and in little plastic bags on the right are some of the supplement books. And I've just started up a campaign, and as I've been doing this, it's kind of a historical retrospective. We're playing OD&D 74 rules. We are running Palace of the Vampire Queen, the first ever published adventure for Dungeons and Dragons. And I've been making this interactive timeline presentation to just kind of help me wrap my head around what the rules were back then. I'm kind of interested in what got added when are the first appearances of various things, monsters and magical items and stuff. So what we're looking at here is a chart of um, the monsters that are included in both the first monster book 2 of the White Box Monsters and Treasure, as well as supplement 1 Greyhawk. So before we sort of dig into the details here, and one of the things I want to present are like, as I made this, what things were kind of surprising to me? What did I not realize? Like, oh, that was, this little monster's got bigger hit dice than that monster, or what things existed back then that have gone away. So let's dig into that in just a second. But before, I want to show what this is. This Prezi, and I'll have a link in the description. This is online now. Anyone can kind of scroll around and look at it. But um, this is for. I've done this for the OD&D, and now I'm just filling out the supplement 1 Greyhawk. But this is basically like all of the charts in here are sort of written down, and so every single spell that is in the white box and Greyhawk is here. The darker ones are from the original white box set. The ones in white are new to the Greyhawk supplement. So new classes, Thief and Paladin were added. Here are the new titles for Thief. So this is all first appearance of all this stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. No new weapons or armor were added, but a bunch of new monsters were. I still have to do magic items, and here's kind of a summary of some of the rules adds. Um, so we're going to come back to this in a second, but just for context, if we go back here to the original 74 rules, here we see, kind of similarly, all the spells, all the classes, the titles, rules, equipment, like everything, all the stuff, and the monster list. So here's something that I did. Just looking at a long list of that. Oh, sorry, this thing's a little laggy. It is now zooming more. Uh, I put so much stuff in here that it's become a little hard to navigate now. Maybe I should move this over to Unreal Engine or something, but bear with me while I get zoomed in here. So this monster list from the White Box Rules 1974 is essentially what we see here. So I have the original copies, but this is a drive-through RPG list. So, we've got, this is sort of alphabetized, but, all the sort of basics: men, goblins, trolls, Medusa, basilisk, cockatrice, and so on. Men in several different flavors. But like, just looking at a big list like this, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around like, all right, well, bunch of words. So to sort of clarify things, I put them in columns by type. So this kind of makes it a little easier to consume and absorb. So here are the OD&D white box undead. Oops, I put zombie there, and I should say undead. I didn't realize all of the oozes were kind of already present from day one. Monstrosities, those are kind of the like, prototypical monster creatures: basilisks, centaur, chimeras, cockatrice, gorgons. Notice that a lot of these, maybe purple worm being an exception, are really just like mythological creatures, right? These are not really specific to D&D. Maybe basilisks are, I don't know, but certainly a lot of these other things have existed in ancient tales and and stuff. You get your humanoids, your giant flavors. I never quite realized that trolls were classified in the giant family. And by the way, none of these categories that I have put here exist in original D&D in Zero Edition. Uh, I've These show up in later editions. Um, in some cases, you could look this, like 1E and some cases like 5E. This is the exact set that 5E will present them in. But I just wanted to just kind of borrow those just to sort of help subdivide these lists to make them a little more consumable. There's the only 3 Fae. Notice there's no aberrations, constructs yet. The 2 celestials are Pegasi and Unicorn. Balrog, obviously that's going to get changed to Balor later. And then I took it a step further. I chopped them up by what their hit dice is. So you can kind of get, at a glance, an understanding of like relative power and distribution of all these monsters. So I got a 4K monitor here. I hope this video is recording in 4K. But you can't see the end of it, so this goes up to level 11 or so. And in red, retired, wherever a monster has not sort of continued on to the later, like if it exists still today in Dungeons and Dragons in 5th edition, it will not have that. But if, Nixies, that's not a thing anymore. Those have been retired from D&D, I don't know, for whatever reason. Balrogs and Ents. And you may not actually even see these under these names in the drive-through RPG versions. These lists are coming off of my original copies. Obviously the Tolkien estate and lawsuit, whatever, they had to not use names that were specific to the Tolkien universe. So Balrogs became Baelors, Ents became Treants. So yeah, these are the base. Notice the elementals; those are the highest level things in OD&D, more so than any dragon or giant. That was surprising to me. Uh, Purple worm. I thought purple worms are classified as dragons, but I guess they're monstrosities. Um, I didn't realize black pudding was such a high level thing. Right up there with golden dragon. Like, okay. So, and it was interesting to me that the undead is so just like like well distributed by level. There's a single one for levels, less than 1 and up through level 7. Vampires are level 7 through 9. Hit dice. Yeah, level isn't actually, or challenge rating. None of these terms exist yet. They're just hit dice is what these columns all are. Um, Ogre is in the giant family. I guess that makes sense. I kind of pictured them as humanoids, like kind of like following the line of like, goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, ogres. But I guess they're their own separate, giant thread. So there we go. Pegasi are 2, unicorns are 4. Um, I didn't quite realize that gargoyles were elementals. I guess that makes sense. They're little stone statue things. So okay. Uh, Elementals have listings for 3 different hit dice levels depending on how they came to be. If you conjure them, they are the highest level thing in all of D&D in 1974. Um, yeah, if you bring them by a staff or a device, they are lower level. So okay, so there's just a few observations I had as I put this together. Mentioned but not statted. These are kind of at the end of the whole list of things. They don't, none of these, including gelatinous cube, um, don't show up in this chart where it stats them out with hit dice. They are just kind of listed somewhere in this book. A lot of them like right at the very end, I believe. Okay, before you get to treasure, other monsters. So Titan, Cyclops, these are just examples of other monsters. Gelatinous Cube is listed in here somewhere, but I love that you can search. It makes it so much easier rather than trying to remember what page all this stuff's on. Yeah, I guess Gelatinous Cube is the last entry before robots and androids. Okay, so let's pop over to the year 1975. So there's all the 74 OD&D stuff. If we advance time a little bit from 1974 over to early March 75, the Greyhawk Supplement 1 comes out. So this is the same exact table copied over, and then just new stuff added. So I grayed out all the Whitebox OD&D stuff. Here's all the new creatures, and so this comes from two different charts in the Greyhawk Supplement 1. So page 16, um, one of the things that was added in Greyhawk Supplement 1 was that weapons now have variable damage. Before in OD&D it was D6. Everything does D6 damage. So now, okay, great. Daggers do less. Two-handed swords do more. But also the monsters now get variable damage too, and they didn't before. All monsters had a D6 attack. That's it. That's how much damage everything does. So they needed to sort of retcon in, like, okay, well, all the creatures that were listed before, what damage do they do? So this chart, this first one is all of the monsters from the original white box set and all the new monsters to the Greyhawk Supplement 1. Here's how much damage that they do. But it doesn't include their sort of original stats. So then this one does not have all the original monsters, but here are the stats for just the new monsters in terms of hit dice, armor class, number appearing, all that. Anyway, that's kind of a convoluted explanation, but in the end, here we are. Grayed out stuff is from the 74 rules. Stuff in white is newly added. So I'm going to kind of move around here a little bit and talk about a couple things I learned as I ran through this. Maybe this is like just known and obvious to plenty of y'all out there, but these were kind of news to me, little bits. So Sturge is a beast. I never quite thought of it as being like an animal as other animals are, but these days that's how it is classified. This was surprising to me. Black pudding at HD 10 is the same hit dice as a Balrog and a Lich. I'm like, holy shit! I never quite realized that black puddings were that hardcore. That was fascinating to me. Giant slugs over here have more hit dice than that. They have more hit dice than beholders, balrogs, liches, golden dragons. Like, what? That was kind of interesting and amazing. Giant slug is one of the retired monsters. If you look up on D&D Beyond today, you'll find a ram and a wolf and a lion and a bear, but not a bull. Maybe it's classified under cow or something. I don't know, but uh, bull is a retired monster technically, I guess you could say. Nixies, Balrogs, and Ents we already covered, but Ogre Magi, in my head, those stayed around through all the editions and are still existing, but they're not. They're not on D&D Beyond. They're not in any of the 5th edition core books. Lamassu was one of the fastest retired monsters. Is it even in 1E? I forget. But it doesn't exist anymore. That hasn't been around for a long time. Ratman, they kind of lumped it in with Were-Rat. In my head, those are different things, but Ratman is not a monster anymore. Lizardmen is now referred to as lizard folk in modern editions. So those were a couple things I realized. Yeah, elementals are some of the highest hit dice, still in Greyhawk, the highest hit dice creatures in the game. Titans and the dragon gods might have more, but and one thing that's changed, I don't know how this affects balance, but in the 74 rules, hit dice was a d6. In Greyhawk, if you're using per class, it's another thing they added, per class hit dice. So magic users and thieves get a d4, clerics are d6, and fighting men are d8. So now the monsters are upgraded too. They are d8 hit dice as well. So Titans and golems were not specified in terms of hit dice, so they're kind of out here on the bottom. They just explicitly told you how many hit points they had. Um, Wyverns are dragons, technically, here at hit dice 7. I didn't realize that. I kind of imagined they were over here with like manticores and stuff like that. But they're dragons. Um, what else? Oh, there's no Etten. I imagined Etten sort of went back to the beginnings of time, but there isn't an Etten still here in 1975 in the core rules. Um, I'll bring my little note here. This is what I'm talking off of. Uh, all of these bugbear, blink dogs, homunculi, sturge, carrion crawler, rust monster, owlbear, umberhulk, gelatinous cube. All of those I think of as like penultimate like Dungeons and Dragons monsters, right? None of them were in the 74 rules. None of them are exist in original D&D. All of those came at some point later. Uh, that was a little surprising to me. I kind of imagined, owlbears and where's Bully? Is Bulliad in here yet? I think it is. No, I know that came in Dragon Magazine a little later, so we still don't have a Bullier yet. But that was surprising to me. These are like total like you're going to see all these in the D&D movie that's coming up, and so yeah, I always assumed these went all the way back. They didn't. They came in Supplement 1 about a year later. I didn't realize that the delta between a platinum dragon and a chromatic dragon, what is now Tiamat essentially, Bahamut and Tiamat. I didn't realize there's such a delta in power. Tiamat or chromatic dragon has 16 hit dice in Zero Edition. Platinum dragon has 21. Will-o-wisps, I never realized were so powerful. They are upstream from vampires. Vampires are 7 and 9. Will-o-wisps are hit die 9. They're 1 hit die under a lich. I always thought of will-o-wisps as a fairly minor. I only recently came to learn that they were undead, but I always thought they were pretty. I think they are fairly minor undead in newer editions, but like whoa, they were way up there in original D&D. The animals that I have listed here, up to this point, before the Greyhawk supplement, animals weren't really explicitly statted out. They're just like small, large, or giant animals and insects, and they just kind of left it to you to figure, just guess what the hit dice was. So in supplement 1, they started to stat a few of them. Strangely, their location you find their hit dice is not on the monster table. It is in Bag of Tricks in the magical item table in the supplement 1. Let's look at Bag of Tricks. Oh, there it was. Go back one. Yeah, so here's where they're finally giving hit dice for some of the monsters. It is explicit now. Strange place to put that, I guess. And another thing that was an observation is number appearing changed quite a lot between the Greyhawk supplement and the OD&D rules. Let's take a look at that. Oop, that's the wrong one. So here on the left are the OD&D rules. Get to the monster chart at the beginning. So you'll see, number appearing, which, just from some of the online questions that I've been going through, this is, not an encounter or a room. This will be an entire, like, dungeon, or in the Wilderness Adventure, a goblin village or something. We'll give you 40 to 400 number appearing. And you can kind of just at a glance see that there's like some of them are up to like hundreds, some of them are a few number. So what's the delta here? It's going to be humanoid races that are going to have these massive numbers: men, goblin, orcs, hobgoblins, Gnomes, dwarves, elves. Nixies, pixies is kind of the outlier. Well, those are still kind of fey humanoids. And everything else, monsters, and particularly high-level monsters, you're only going to see a few of them. They're not going to be a pile of not a tiny number of skeletons and zombies, but not massive. Um, so that's original D&D from 74. If you look at Greyhawk Supplement 1, the numbers go way down. You don't see anything up in the hundreds. The highest that's here is up to 40 for lizard men. And even where you'll see humanoid things in here, they're still pretty minor numbers compared to what you saw in the 74 rules. So lycanthropes, lizard men, and tritons, I guess, and druids. Those are the sort of the humanoid ones, and they're a tenth of what I had imagined they'd be over here. Um, so I'm not entirely sure what's behind that or why, but just an observation. Um, there we go. Thank you very much for checking this out. I might do another one on like what were the magical items that changed, but I thought this one was fascinating enough, and I learned a few things and just kind of wanted to share it. So if you want to dig into this a little more, this interactive timeline is online now. The original intent of this was just to kind of show all of the books that TSR ever put out. Right now, I've got up to first and second edition, but Strategic Review, Dragon Magazine, Judges Guild, and We Warrior stuff. So through, kind of through the 90s, this is basically every module and core book every published by TSR. And then once I started my vintage campaign, this little black thing here is the timeline of where we are. So we've introduced Strategic Review 1, OD&D rules, Chainmail, and Greyhawk, and we're kind of marching through time, adding books as we go. So as I was doing that, I was interested in like, well, what are the monsters that are here? What got added when? So that's what these little added charts for these two. And as we march through time, I'm going to keep adding stuff. We're doing Palace of the Vampire Queen right now, and I'm going to do the kind of same treatment for this. Put what new monsters, magical items, all that kind of stuff is for that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. This is DJ. Take care.